He represents the mitten by way of Penn State. When Chapman gets to talking sports, the people can't wait. He represents the mitten. Be a true EMU, but cut Dennis in the fall and his veins bleeding blue. They got respect around the state when that light turns red. So don't sleep on these dudes. Just invite your friends to cut your nap short and tip your cap for and sit back for the Fith chapter. Brian Chapman. Dennis Fithian. When they open their mouths, they spit in the facts, bro. This ain't even optional, man. You just have to tune into YouTube to watch the broadcast or download it to your phone to peep the podcast. They mix laughter, they get after. It's all captured in the Fith chapter. That's right. Welcome to the Fith chapter. I am Brian Chapman. He is Dennis Fithian. We're ready to go for episode number 118. And Dennis, what the heck is up with Trevor Bauer? Did you see the story about him and that domestic advice or the domestic abuse accuser?
Yeah, I did. That's all I know. All I know is what I read about it. I wasn't there. I don't know if he was choking a woman, if she wanted it, if she didn't, if he's a dirtbag, or if she's looking for more. I don't know any of it. So,
yeah,
what I know.
It's a bizarre situation, and he's scheduled to make his next start on the 4th of July this Sunday, and it's a road game. And one of the big questions I was thinking about is, like, how do you go on the mound after that, particularly if it's a road game? And when you see in the story that his attorneys were releasing documents that were saying, here are the text messages, and it was a consensual, like, violent sex act that they both wanted to participate in. Like, that's, can you imagine the type of comments coming out of the fans in DC this weekend when Bauer takes the mound? Like, it's going to be unimaginable.
Yeah, well, coming up in the 4th chapter, Chapman will tell you what it's like, to choke somebody out when you're having sex. So,
not me. Trevor Bauer can do that on his podcast.
Yeah, I don't have any knowledge. I was going to say expertise. I don't have any knowledge of that.
Yeah, I don't either. Well, we will certainly try not to choke anybody out on this show. We're ready for 5 fantastic chapters. We want to thank everybody who's watching out there via YouTube, Facebook, and via Twitch. Also want to thank those who are listening to the podcast via Apple, Google, and Spotify. And make sure that you participate in each show by sending in your feedback via Facebook, via Twitch, and via YouTube. Hey, Dennis is watching the show while he's doing the show.
Yeah, that's neat.
Absolutely.
Technology.
Technology is the best. And if you're wondering what we're going to be talking about during the course of tonight's show, well, let's take a look at tonight's book. And as you can see in the 2nd chapter, with the Hawks banged up and the Bambis banged up, is it going to be smooth sailing for the Suns to an NBA title now that they are in the NBA Finals? In the 3rd chapter, whose injury is a bigger problem for his team, the Greek Freaks or Trae Young's injury? And by the way, both have been ruled out for tonight's Game 5, which starts in just about an hour.
That sucks.
Yes, it does. It does. Because one of the big themes in the NBA playoffs has been a loss of star power. In the 4th chapter, Big Gretch is following in the footsteps of so many other governors, and she's giving away millions of dollars in vaccination prizes. Will it work to get people vaxxed? And then in the 5th chapter, it's the major wager, where Dennis and I will try to give you some sports betting advice so that you can cash in either tonight or this weekend. But Dennis, let's start off with the 1st chapter. And that takes us to name, image, and likeness, the wild, west of name, image, and likeness. You got some states that passed laws weeks ago, like Georgia and Florida, to try to get ahead of the curve because they didn't know what Congress was going to do. They didn't know what the NCAA was going to do. Ohio did the same thing. Pennsylvania passed a law for my Penn State Nittany Lions. Other states, like the state of Michigan, did not pass any name, image, and likeness laws. And then like a day or two before July 1st, when all this was set to take place, the NCAA just said, hey, do whatever you want, follow your state laws, but if you don't have any state laws, you can still go out there and make money off of your name, your image, or your likeness. And this is big because before today, if you tried to make money as a college athlete off of your name, image, or likeness, then you would get suspended and your school would get some NCAA punishments and also perhaps some postseason bans and things like this. But we're less than 18 hours into this situation, and we've already got student athletes making money and offering some pretty interesting products. You got De'Aaron King, the quarterback from Miami, who's not even a Heisman Trophy candidate, but he signed a $20,000 deal with College Hunks, which is the first to be reported after NIL came out. And College Hunks is a moving company and a junk removal company that hires college students. Also, King and Florida State quarterback Mackenzie Milton signed on as the co-founders of Dreamfield, which is a name, image, and likeness company that's going to book live events like autograph signings, meet and greets, and speaking engagements for student athletes, as well as NFTs. Additionally, you got a bunch of these student athletes that are coming out with some of their own logos, and we've got some that we can show you guys on the screen. There you can see in the top left, you got Spencer Rattler's logo with the rattlesnake, with the snake head. You got cool. De'Aaron King right next to it. It looks like there's a D, a K, a 1 in the middle, and then a G, and it looks kind of like a crown.
Makes sense.
Beneath that, you got Graham Mertz, and then in the bottom left-hand corner, let's see if I can make it a little bit bigger, you got Kendall Milton. Who's Kendall Milton play for?
I don't know who Kendall Milton. Graham Mertz has got his own logo. Damn.
Yeah, I don't even know who Kendall Milton is, but these guys all have their own logos. Additionally, you got a Michigan man who is using his own creative way to go out there and make some money. A Michigan man by the name of Aiden Hutchinson, defensive end that a lot of Michigan fans are familiar with. And here is, wait a second, here we go. Here's what he tweeted out earlier today. My official merchandise is now being sold in an exclusive drop on the player's trunk. Get your merch now for this limited 200 jersey release. Link in my bio. This is a guy who only has 9,355 followers, but here's his jersey that he's selling, or his jersey as he's calling it. It looks just like a University of Michigan jersey, but there's no block M. He's got his Aiden Hutchinson logo just above the 7, and on the back he's got Hutchinson. So a very creative way to try to trick Michigan fans into thinking they're getting pretty close to or a real Aiden Hutchinson jersey when it's not something that has a Nike logo or anything like that. But here we are, Dennis. College athletes finally can get paid. What do you think is the good and what do you think is the bad out of NIL being here?
You know what? I think it's all mostly good. I hadn't really thought about anything of the bad here. It's good, man. It's free enterprise. I think the really good part is, like, Hutchinson there. I wouldn't have known this, but my teenage stepson, he's for years has gone online and like trying to register like exclusive drop. He liked Supreme stuff, and he's like, oh yeah. I mean, you got to like get a lottery ticket to get in the exclusive drop, to get like the finite number of jerseys, or not jerseys, but the clothes that he wanted to get. And so, like, man, you're a Michigan fan. This is something different. Like, to get an Aiden Hutchinson jersey, like he'll probably have another drop, maybe make it a little bit different or something else on there. But yeah, I think it's great. I like how just across the board, it's not just people have tried to say, well, here, I think this is how it's going to go. This is how it's going to go. We don't know, man. Like, you got Nebraska like half of the team is signing up for some kind of burger joint all the way through. You see this the star on TikTok who is a female gymnastics member for LSU. She's not like one of the top, in the top 15 or whatever. They won the national championship, but she's just got millions of followers. But she was in Times Square today with NLI talking about she's going to be the first. Speculation is that she's going to be the first millionaire out of the athletes, where TikTok's just going to sign her up. And the part that I thought was interesting is was yesterday social media day, and that the Big Ten put out who had the most followers in the Big Ten of active athletes. And, besides the two Ohio State wide receivers, you'd struggle to see or struggle to know who any of these people are. You got wrestlers and yeah, there you go. Did you know who Gabe Stevenson was? Or
I did not know who Gabe Stevenson was. I'm a Penn State fan, so I was happy to see that number 2 and number 3 are Penn Staters, but Michael Jorah from gymnastics and Roman Bravo Young from wrestling. I know Penn State is a great wrestling program, but I don't know who these guys are. And to see that the top football player is Taulia Tagovailoa, like that's stunning. That's stunning to me.
Well, what's stunning is that you got some guys on the like Michi Johnson. I do remember him just as a guy who came in and played for Ohio State. He's not one of the what you would say like top 3 or 4 guys on the team. And then Michigan, like I'm a big Michigan basketball fan, but if Adrian Nunez was walking down the street, if I was in Ann Arbor, I might say maybe that's Adrian Nunez, but I didn't know he had, like he was in the top 10 in social media.
Yeah, 8. There he is, number 8.
Yeah, well, I knew that he did some TikTok stuff, but I don't follow Nunez on TikTok. I've seen some of his. I've seen some of the videos. He gets out and does some of the dances and edits up some stuff. But yeah, it's across the board. I saw that there were 2 twin basketball players. I don't know, from out in Wyoming or something. Like they're pretty good players, but their team's not very good. They signed a big deal today, and it's all the way through. It's like if you're good looking, or you got you got some kind of hook, whether on social media, like the gymnastics, the young girl from LSU, she's does a lot of flips, and she's a cute girl. She's got millions of followers. She is going to be a millionaire. I think it's pretty sweet. All the way through.
Yeah, and when you talk about gymnastics and things like that, that's where I think it could be a real breakthrough, because when you think about the non-revenue sports, meaning not football and not basketball, not only do they not make money for the universities because nobody goes to attend a swimming and diving meet, nobody goes to the field hockey game, but these student athletes aren't making money after they leave college in their particular sport unless they go into coaching. Like you don't see a lot of, even if you're a star lacrosse player, you're probably not going to the Major League Lacrosse circuit. If you are an all Big Ten soccer player, you're probably not going to go play for Manchester United. You're probably not even going to play for the MLS, or maybe if you do, it'll be a short period of time. You're going to go get yourself a job in corporate America or try to run a business or something like that. But and which means you'll never make a dime in your sport. But when you see that gymnasts and lacrosse players and wrestlers have hundreds of thousands of followers on social media, and you think about how Instagram models have hundreds of thousands of followers on social media, and all they have to do is pose in a dress with a product in their hand, and they're smiling with like some nice background, and all of a sudden they get $10,000 or $50,000 just for doing that every single time they post. Well, there's going to be a lot of companies that are going to do that with these college athletes, and now the 100,000 or 250,000 followers that they have can be monetized. I was listening to the Yahoo College Sports podcast a few weeks ago when they were talking about name, image, and likeness coming. And they talked about this lacrosse player, I believe she was from Boston College, named Charlotte North. I'd never heard of her before, but they said that she's like the Michael Jordan of female lacrosse players. And if you're in the Northeast where lacrosse is the most popular in this country, then, and you're a little girl, a teenager, then Charlotte North is if she's the Michael Jordan of female lacrosse players, then you love Charlotte North. You want to be the next Charlotte North. And they were saying that obviously a couple weeks ago when they didn't have NIL, she couldn't make any money. But now she can go across the country and get $5,000 to go to a camp and speak and help coach little girls and take pictures with little girls, 14, 15-year-olds, and say, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm here with Charlotte North. And they're rich parents, because if you play lacrosse, odds are your parents are rich. They're going to be willing to pay a little bit more for their kid to go to that camp so they can go meet Charlotte North. You also think about the ability for her to make money, not just doing that, but a lacrosse company that manufactures sticks could have her picture next to the sticks at like Dick's Sporting Goods. So a little girl could say, hey, Charlotte North has that stick. I want that stick. Just like kids that go into Foot Locker can say, hey, Kevin Durant wears those shoes or LeBron wears those shoes. I want to wear those shoes. So I think for when you look at the non-revenue sports, it's going to be huge for some of those athletes that have a following in a community but aren't able to make a dime. And now all of a sudden, well, they're not going to make millions. They'll be able to get something.
Yeah, I think, you said if there's a drawback, I think, you think about like during the football season, like you see interviews that you'll have after the game. And I don't think that when they go up to the podium and you see like the video that you'll see after a game where, somebody will be up inside the news conference there. I could see them being pretty short, just giving some blah answers, but then as soon as they, step outside the building, they could just go live on, on YouTube, Instagram. Or they go live on Twitch where you have to give money out there. And that could be, that's where you're going to get your information from. If you're somebody that liked, hanging out and getting autographs. I know like at Michigan, they had their, press and picture day where, the athletes were available and, and you get back a little bit of the community there, like, might sign a couple, but you know what? Hey, I'm signing. I saw the kid from Iowa. He's signing at a 4th of July picnic, this weekend. So, he's getting money for that. So the guys might be like, nah, I'm not really interested. I'll sign something here, but you know what? I'll be signing, tomorrow. So it could be, if you have to pay for an autograph, you can say that would be a drawback, or, if you don't like seeing advertising, like when somebody gets on there, you're going to see a lot, like all of a sudden, pull on your shirt with your own logo, put your hat on for the people that are sponsoring you for the pizza company, and then say, oh, okay, yeah, now, these are my sponsors. Let me say first, thanks to the Fith chapter, watch them every Tuesday and Thursday. They're good guys, here's my favorite pizza. This is what I like to drink. This is what I like for breakfast, and then have your dorm mate give you a bunch of softball questions because you avoided all the hard questions. Well, whatever, and you can do whatever you want. Be your personality. The more the more you like bog it down with just selling things, the less people are probably gonna watch. But young kids, college athletes, there are going to be a lot of creative people on there. If they're good looking, get other good looking people in there, they do some crazy things people like watching, say some things that people don't know about the team. Don't say anything when you're up on the podium, but when you go live, especially if people are paying for it on Twitch, or I know I sent you a link, Spencer Rattler went on some kind of
yeah, I'd never heard of Cameo before.
Yeah, Cameo, but I think you got to join. You have to pay a certain amount of money, or if you want to give a question out, you have to pay a certain amount of money. Rattler said that he was going to donate. He didn't say how much. A portion of his proceeds are going to, underserved people in the community, which is great. It's a great thing to do too, especially if you want thinking, hey, you know what? Rattler's giving some of this back. It's a great PR move by him as well. So, all of it. So, I think it's pretty cool just seeing how it's developed and. And people can just throw things out there, and these kids, they'll find a way. Let's call them kids. These college students, they'll find ways to make money. If you're, if they've got the brand behind them, and they can pseudo use it, even though the colleges are going to be like, wait a second, I saw BYU was like, you can't do this and you can't do that. And we'll see. You keep pushing the envelope and doing everything you can.
They're going to make sure that
come up with 100 things.
Yeah, they're going to make sure that they're not, if you're a Michigan athlete or an Eastern or a Central athlete, You're not going to say, hey, weed's legal in Michigan. And after a tough game against a rival, there's nothing like smoking on Calvin Johnson's weed. Like that, that's not going to happen.
I know that they've got these websites for each and every school, like that you pay premium amount of money each month, to be a subscriber. You're looking for inside info on recruiting and what's going on with the team. You're the 12th man on the bench, man. You're just sitting out there like, hey, I'm live at practice. Hey, here are the visitors here today. Hey,
coach is not going to allow you to make money at practice.
Maybe not at practice, but then afterwards,
they're going to want that on the team website.
Well, after they're done with practice and they are bringing in recruits, you take the recruits and you take them around town. Hey, here's Brian Chapman. He's a 5-star. We brought him in. Hey, here he is at the pizza joint. Hey, this is what. Hey, what did you think, Chap? Where are you going? You get that information. I mean, you're getting it right from the source there before. Mm-hmm. I remember back in the day that there was a guy who was starting out at this website. He didn't have any connections with the team. He was calling me, asking me like, hey, what do I think? All these things. And I was like, well, you develop your sources and everything else. Well, then I find out that this guy, it would stand outside of Michigan football practice and he would have his business card and he would have $100 bills and he would walk up to coaches that were allowed to go to the Michigan football practice and, hey, coach, my name's Brian Chapman. I'm running a website. I just am looking for any information on practice, but just positive stuff. I don't want to know any injury. I just want info. And here's $100 bill, and here's my card. And he would just hand it to these coaches. And he said, half of the coaches would say, no, I'm not interested, but half of them would take the $100. And he said almost 9 out of those 10 coaches actually called him and gave him information. And he had inside information, and he started selling subscriptions. And it was a great book. It's really what's going on now. You could go to football players now. That same guy could have players that are walking out. And I know that there's, you could just walk up to and before you couldn't do this. It's totally against NCAA rules. You can walk up and say, hey, here's $100 bill. Here's my card. I'm just looking for any kind of information inside about the Michigan football team, the Michigan State team. If you're up in East Lansing, just give it to me. And so, there's a lot of different ways that you can, make some cash, and, people are going to try anything. Maybe, we'll get the 5th chapter. We'll just start standing outside practice, handing out $100 bills.
Yeah, well, that'll come out of your account. You got the big money. But I will say this, one drawback that I could think of, and this is also something I kind of halfway got from the Yahoo Sports podcast, but also developed on my own, is
I'm glad you developed it on your own a little bit. It's nice to have an opinion.
A lot of these universities, most of these universities have at least $1 billion donor, if not multiple, and certainly $100 million donors and alums from the universities. And you could get a situation where someone who's a big fan of one of the teams or multiple teams that owns a company could find a way to get in with the recruiting process to bring somebody in. For instance, Dan Gilbert, we know that he loves his Michigan State Spartans. He helped to rename the basketball team the Rocket Mortgage Spartans. We know that he owns Rocket Mortgage / Quicken Loans. So what if he has a meeting with Tom Izzo and, they just kind of off the record put together a deal so that when Tom Izzo is recruiting these guys, they know that if they come to Michigan State and they're a 5-star recruit, then they're going to have their billboards up all around Metro Detroit and all throughout the state along, it'll say Rocket Mortgage, click now to get a mortgage. And it'll be a 5-star recruit smiling right next to the logo. 5-star such and such player, Imani Bates or whoever, and it'll be all around the state. And those things would be worth lots and lots of money if you got on billboards, if you're on television ads, because why couldn't you be on a television ad? You could tell these recruits, hey, you go to Michigan State, you're a 5-star, you're going to be in a Rocket Mortgage ad, and you are going to be guaranteed $250,000.
Yeah,
that's chump change. That's chump change for Dan Gilbert, a billionaire, and his team, which is all he cares about. We get the best players. He could do the same thing for football.
Yeah, I think the one thing it does for me when you talk about the recruiting, everybody that is always like we'll just talk about, Michigan to Michigan State. That's always like, oh, you know what? Louisville paid this kid. Oh, Alabama just went there for the money. I mean, that's out the window now. You can't say, well, Clemson just made him a better deal or made him an offer he couldn't refuse. So okay, step up to the plate, where's your donor? Get your donor.
Where's your alum?
Find a way to do this. I know some hey, we're just offering our scholarship and they can monetize. That's not the way it goes down. I mean, they already have the black market going in the SEC. And hey, you know what? And the thing is, now, are you really looking back and saying, "Oh, well, those things are tainted. Everybody cheated"? Like, no, like it. And I was surprised today at the push by Reggie Bush, who was like, "Yeah, I want my Heisman back. You know, I just took $200,000. I never did anything. I never influenced anything out of the football field. I just took money. The Fab Five." You know, people were like, all like, let's get those banners up there, even though, Chris Webber was taking money from a guy who was running an illegal gambling outfit and was giving Webber the money under the guise that it would be money laundering. Webber was out there like, yeah, what about my 280? Making it sound like, let's get the banners up there. I'm like, wait a second, I don't think you could, you can't get and money launder and be involved in something like that. And now you want the banners going up, but people are like, hey, it's kind of like back in the day when you sold pot, you're in jail, and people are like, hey, it's legal now. Let's get them out of jail. Everybody's out of jail.
Yeah, everybody is. And by the way, for you guys wondering on the chat where little Brian is, no little Brian tonight. Only Big Brian and Dennis.
Yeah, I got caught up in some connection issues.
Yeah. So, all right, you ready to turn the page to the second chapter?
I am, and that gets us to the NBA, where last night the Suns punched their ticket to the NBA Finals for the first time in 38 years, something like that, 28 years?
Since 94. So 27 years. I think it's since 94.
All right. Good math. I read on the spot. I don't know. I just threw that random number out there. It was a long time, but, they beat the Clippers, and now they are in. Do you feel like they're the team to beat? Chap.
Oh, real quickly, one other note on the first chapter is EA Sports college football and college basketball could be returning as well to video game systems. That is a huge potential positive for name, image, and likeness. But yeah, this is smooth sailing for the Suns. They're going to the NBA title. They're going to win the NBA championship as long as nobody significant on the Suns suffers a major injury, because this whole playoffs has been about who is healthy and who's not. And the Suns have been the healthiest team in the playoffs, and they just happen to be a number 2 seed as well. But they beat an injured Lakers team. They in the second round they beat, who was it? The Denver Nuggets. Who didn't have Jamal Murray, so they were banged up with an injury. And then in the conference finals, they beat the Clippers, who were missing their best player. So they were smooth sailing to get to the NBA Finals, and now when they get to the Finals, they're going to be either playing against a Bucks team that doesn't have Giannis or has a less than 100% Giannis, or a Hawks team that has a less than 100% Trae Young or no Trae Young at all.
Well, remember what I mean, like your premise that that they're going to be the favorite and they might have smooth sailing is correct, but it wasn't an easy route for them in the first game. Against the Lakers, Chris Paul got hurt. He was over there and all bandaged up,
and then shoulder injury.
And then Booker right now is dealing.
He's got the broken nose.
And he had the broken nose, and then last night, he wasn't wearing the mask, and he got popped to the face. Again, that looked pretty nasty. So if they came back and said, "Look, man, this guy's got some, something that he's dealing with there." And that he might have to miss some games. I mean, you could see that, like after what that transpired last night. So it hasn't been smooth sailing for them to this point to get there on the injury front. They've had to deal with it, just like what's his name, Johnson, the dude from Carolina. Their other big man that can shoot. He missed a game because of injury.
Yeah, well, Cam Johnson getting hurt is not the same as Anthony Davis missing the last couple games of the series. Kawhi Leonard missing the entirety of the series. Jamal Murray missing the entirety of the series. The Phoenix Suns are the healthiest team in the playoffs right now. They've been the healthiest team in the playoffs since the conference finals got to get a couple games in. And on top of that, the first game of the NBA Finals is a week from today. So they've got a week to get Chris Paul's shoulder even healthier. They've got a week to get Devin Booker's nose even healthier. And this Eastern Conference Finals are going at least 6 games, which means that there's another opportunity tonight and another opportunity on Saturday for Hawks and Bambis to get hurt. And if it goes to Game 7 on Monday, there'll be opportunities for those guys to get hurt. And they'll only have 2 days to get 100% or to get healthy, whereas the Suns, they've got over a week. So yes, smooth sailing for the Suns to win the championship. And if they do not suffer a major injury, then it would be one of the biggest shames of all time if they don't win the NBA championship.
Yeah, I'm with you. All right, let's get to the third chapter.
All right, let's turn the page, and that gets us to, well, the Eastern Conference. And, of course, we were just kind of touching on that. And in the Eastern Conference Finals, it's tied up at 2. Game 5 is tonight in Milwaukee. The big story is obviously injuries. Giannis suffered an injury on the first day that Trae Young did not participate in the game, which was in Game 4 on Tuesday. Everybody and their mama thought that the Bambis were going to win that game, but not only did the Bucks get crushed in that game, and were they getting crushed before Giannis got hurt, but he got hurt with a nasty hyperextension of his knee. He has been ruled out for today's game, along with Trae Young, who was a quote-unquote game-time decision, but about an hour ago or so, he was ruled out. So, Dennis, bottom line, which injury is a bigger problem for his team? Is it Trae Young for the Hawks or Giannis for the Bambis?
Bottom line, this is a hard question. You can make a case for either one, but I'll have to say Trae Young because of the supporting cast, even though I like how the Hawks stepped up, like all these different guys from Herter to Collins, right across the board, even the guys on the bench, even Cam Reddish, stepped up, even though he was taking some wild shots. In the end, he looked pretty good, and Gallinari's been pretty sweet off the bench too. I mean, I like a lot of the Hawks players, but I think ultimately, if you're looking for who are the best players, I do think you go to Chris Middleton and you go to Drew Holiday. So I would say that it's going to hurt the Hawks more.
I'm going with the Bambis. When I look at this situation, the Bambis are a soft team. The Bambis are a team that has really befuddled everybody because they have these big advantages in terms of the health department. You look at what happened in the series against the Nets, and James Harden missed a big chunk of that series, and then Kyrie Irving missed the end of it, and they still needed 7 games to barely beat the Brooklyn Nets, and they needed a 100% Giannis to get through that. And then you saw what happened in Game 4 when they had 100% Giannis for the first half of that game, and they were getting destroyed because they have that Bambi, that soft mentality. And then now I look at them, and I understand your point about looking at that supporting cast and saying, when you look at Middleton and Drew Holiday and Brook Lopez and all these different players, on paper they look so good, but when you put them in these big situations in the playoffs, year after year, they become a problem because of that Bambi uniform that they wear, and the fact that Coach Budenholzer isn't able to make the adjustments. So when I see what Atlanta was able to do, yes, it was a home game, but in Game 4, and blow out the competition, blow out the Bambis, go deer hunting without Trae Young. Are they?
So you think the Hawks are going to win this series? Because neither of these guys are coming back.
Yeah, well. I would think that Trae Young is actually closer to coming back because he was a game-time decision, whereas Giannis was ruled out very early. He was ruled out, yesterday, right?
Yeah, I don't know. It's guesswork. Maybe he will come back. Maybe again. You know what would be great? Actually, it would be great if both of them are back.
Yeah,
for Game 6,
I can't trust a soft team without their best player.
It would be nice to see it go 7 and have both of those guys give it a go in a Game 7. That would be pretty sweet.
Yeah, well, and it's going to suck because when they do come back, they're not going to be 100%. But the other thing is when you look at their injuries, like Trae Young, he suffered the ankle injury, and he does need the ankle to be able to, explode and get into the paint a little bit and put up that floater. But one of his big keys to his game is shooting those threes. And if he can just be a distraction and shoot threes and put up 15 to 20, that's huge. Where Giannis, if his knees messed up, one of his marquee moves is going out to the 3-point line and then just kind of charging in. But if one of his knees is messed up, he's going to be concerned about planting because it could hyperextend. He won't have that same quickness, and guys like Capella and Collins could slow him down.
Yeah, you're 6'1", you still need to be able to have the step back and get out there and just pack them. If you're 6'1" on a bad ankle, it's not like you need to get up and rise and fire. Yeah. And he's so effective at being able to use the floater and then using his speed there. So I know Harden did it a little bit, like he stood out there and it was kind of the same thing. And, what did he have? A grade 2 hammy, and he was able to do it. So it just sucks that both of these guys are hurt. But
It sucks that the whole playoffs have been about injuries. Everybody's been hurt, and if they're hurt, they lose.
The thing is that's reality, and you could say every playoff has guys that get hurt, but the amount of stars. I mean, I hear you on that, but for me, I have found that these playoffs have been some of the most entertaining that I've ever seen.
Yeah, they're entertaining because the injuries have made them more entertaining.
Well, I think that, for instance, maybe if they all, you never know how it's going to go. If they all had their guys and we were still here at the same point, we probably wouldn't be. But
think about this: if the Nets had not had any injuries, wouldn't you assume that they would have swept the Hawks after having beaten the Bambis in 4 or 5 games?
Yeah, well, you would think so, but also the Nets only played 8 or 9 games in the regular season, and then half of these guys, were in and out of the lineup anyways. You were predicting it all along, so it was always a loose proposition that all these guys were just going to get in there, that they were going to be able to coalesce, and then it was just going to throw the balls out, and they were just going to roll to the title, even though they were the favorite. And you know what? Giannis, I mean, he got hurt, but the Bucks were getting beat last game, whether he got hurt or not.
Yes. And that's one of the reasons why I say they need Giannis, because even with him, they're no guarantee because they're just such a soft team. And
we'll put that down as a good point on your side. You're right about that.
All right. You ready to turn the page to the 4th chapter?
Yeah, I am. And this is getting, a lot of today's show has been about money. College athletes can now get money, and so can you. As you're watching this right now, you can just get a free roll in the lottery. People always say, you ever play the lottery? Nah, I never play, but you are eligible to win $1 million, $2 million, maybe 50,000 a day, as the governor, Gretch has said. You could just get in and win prizes for getting the vaccine. And chat, what do you think about this idea of giving out millions of dollars to get vaccinated?
I've been waiting for this. Like, even before Ohio came out with their plan, which was for 5 consecutive weeks, one person 18 or over is going to win $1 million, and one person under 18 is going to win a college scholarship. I was saying that on the federal level, they should say, you know what, we're going to pick like 50 winners from across the country who will never have to pay federal income taxes again, because everybody hates paying taxes. And then we're going to pick, like, I don't know, 1,000 or 5,000 winners across the country who won't have to pay income taxes for the 2021 year. So I was thinking about that.
All the rich people would be like, screw that, we don't pay taxes anyways.
Well, that's true. But other people would say, I will go get the vaccine because I hate paying taxes. And people, like, not only do people want money, but they hate paying taxes because they don't like where their money is going, whether you're on the left or the right. I don't want my money going to that, and you wouldn't have to go to that. But once the Ohio governor and some of these other governors started stepping up, I would say, hey, how come Big Gretch isn't doing that in Michigan? And apparently there was like something in the state constitution or whatever that banned it, but they got around it. I think they're partnering with Meyer, but they're giving $1 million, I believe, if you get your vaccine by like July 10th, and then a $2 million prize, which I believe is going to be the biggest of any prize in the country. If you get your first shot by like August. And then they're also, what I really like is you see that $50,000 daily. I believe it's from July 6th through August 4th. Every day they're going to be picking a $50,000 winner. So while states like Ohio are going to have 5 total cash winners, the state of Michigan is going to have 32 winners, and $50,000, unless you're super rich and you're in Birmingham or Grosse Pointe, that's life-changing money for 32 people, the 2 millionaires and the 2 people winning $50,000. The fact that they're giving out money, and the fact that in these other states, they've instantly seen the vaccine numbers go up after they've announced these lotteries, means that we should see vaccine numbers start to go back up among the unvaccinated very quickly.
Yeah, I like the I don't know if it's a twist, but you're thinking, damn, maybe I should have been a straggler, because then, but you're, even if you are already vaccinated, you're good to get into the million and the 2 million. You're only the stragglers do get the $50,000 bonus, that they're in for. So I guess they could say it paid off if they waited to this point. Say, all right, now I'm going, right?
Yeah, as long as you've gotten your shot, you're eligible for any of the prizes.
Oh, even the 50,000. I thought that was
no. It's as long as you've gotten your shot. Like I got my shot back in April, and I'm eligible for every prize outside of the college scholarship.
The one I was reading, it was about that you weren't on the 50,000. But I'll just leave that for you. You probably looked into it a little bit more than I did.
Yes. So I will be excited to get any one of those gifts that I can get. And the other thing about this is, when you compare it to Ohio or some of these other states that are only going to have 4 or 5 winners, when you think about word of mouth, let's say each person knows approximately 1,000 people, if you see on the news, or you see on the internet, oh, Dennis Fithian won a $1 million prize, then like 1,000 people around you are going to see that. And if like 300 people haven't gotten vaccinated, they might say, wow, if Dennis can do it, I can do it. And they'll go decide to do it. But out of the 5 people that know 5,000 people, only 5,000 people will know someone who got it. But in Michigan, with it being 32, then that means 32,000 people might know a person who got one of those big time prizes and perhaps be inspired to go get that cash or to go get that vaccine.
I think it'd be pretty smart to get these people, like the $50,000 daily person, get them on there and interview them. So you kind of feel like this is like if you're one of the non-vaxxers right now and you didn't get vaccinated because you don't trust the government or you don't trust the solution or whatever else, and then you're like you also might not trust that you're actually going to, that this is a legit drawing. But so you get some of those people out there and the winner, and you just hear their story, like, yeah, I was just lazy, and I figured, hey, what the hell now? 50,000, I could get other people. And
no, that's true. I saw an interview with the second $1 million winner from Ohio, and he said that his wife was vaccinated, and I think one of his adult kids was vaccinated, but he was dragging his feet on getting the vaccine. But once the governor of Ohio announced $1 million prizes, he decided to get vaccinated, and boom, he got the money. So stories like that, you're right, Dennis, could encourage people to go get the vaccines. They can say, I don't trust the government and I don't trust the vaccine, but if they're going to give me $50,000 to $2 million, then yeah, I'm going to go do it.
I'll tell you what, before 16 months ago, if you'd have said, it had the pandemic, I know people have said that, like you wouldn't believe it and never going to shut everything down. But then if you said, yeah, and then at the end, there were going to be people that didn't want to get it, you said, but then they were offering a lottery. I said, that's all sounds a little far-fetched, but, here we are.
Well, and it's a shame because you think about how America has the best access to vaccines and the best vaccines in the world. We got, the Johnson & Johnson's like 70% effective, and the other 2 are like over 90% effective. And we can go into any drugstore or most drugstores in this country, major drugstores, and get one right now. But we got like 40 to 50% of the country that wants no part of it. And then you got people in other parts of the world that have access to less effective vaccines, like the Chinese and the Russian vaccines are like 30 to 40% effective. And they're begging to get them. Like they would give up assets to stand in line and get that, where in America, people have to be begged with assets to get it. It's a shame. It's embarrassing.
Hey, you're addressing, almost half of the nation that, does not trust it. So it's not like we're just talking about a vocal minority or something. There's a hell of a lot of people that don't trust it, don't want it, have figured that they've gone 16 months. They're good. They're healthy. They're strong. Don't believe in the government. Don't think it's going to affect anybody else. Think it's a hoax. A number of reasons for it. So,
Yeah. I talk to them all the time. So when they're sitting in my car about, people have died from getting the coronavirus vaccine. No, they haven't died. And even if like 5 people have died, you're more likely to die if you don't get the vaccine. But maybe $50,000 to $2 million will encourage someone to get the vaccine that's going to kill them, right?
Oh, tax money well spent.
Yeah. All right, Dennis, you ready to turn the page to the 5th chapter?
I am, reluctantly, because I have to talk about what I bet on this past time out, this past Tuesday. And I was betting on Milwaukee. I thought for sure that they were going to go out there. I was even looking for to lay more points to get a better money line, because I thought that they were just going to blow them off the floor, but didn't happen. Hawks jumped on them right away too. What was it? 10-2, 15-5. they just put their right foot down on the gas, and they just kept going, man. They played awesome, and supporting cast without Trae Young. They always say this thing in sports where, and it's true. Like for one game, when you don't have your superstars, everybody else can step up and fill that, but you can't count on that in the long run. And that really did play out. It'd be an interesting way to bet, like when you see some star go out in a series, or whether you see it in baseball over a long season or something. You say, hey, they can do it in the short term, but long term they can't. So maybe jumping up on those short term teams, that have a major injury or something. I don't know. It's a tough way to do it, but that is kind of the thing that they say in sports. And that did play out on Tuesday. All that being said, I got to look to play a bet tonight, or place a bet tonight. And I have to say, I've been betting here on the Fith chapter and the major wager for what I've been doing this for over a year, right?
That's correct.
And just over the last couple months, I did get in, and I've played a lot of poker, but I have not placed a real bet on a sporting event. Although over the last 2 weeks, I have now placed 2 real bets. So this is it's different when you're taking your money to the window and actually putting it down. It's way different. In Game 7, I took the Lightning to advance to the Stanley Cup Finals. I wasn't getting that much great money, but that was a winner. And then I took the Suns last night minus a point. So I'm feeling pretty good, 2-0 since I started gambling. But you know what? It's just as a hard. I'm going to take the Bucks tonight, but I'm going to have to just. If I'm going to bet this, am I really going to lay it at 5.5 points?
Last time I saw it was 4.5, but it's something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm checking right now.
I guess I'd go for the money line, but you know what? Screw it. 4.5.
4.5 points. Yeah, 4.5.
I'm not going to actually bet this one, but if I did, I would take the Bucks. I'm not going to take the Hawks.
And it would be a major wager.
Yeah, but I don't want. You know what? The thing about it, I like putting the money. Like last night, I like the Suns more than I like the Clippers. And so it was fun to be able to root for the Suns. I don't want to root for the Bucks, so I don't want to bet them, even though I think that they will win tonight's game.
Yeah, I think it's appropriate to be cautious with 2-star players out. Like I, in the third chapter, said that the bigger injury issue is Giannis, but it could, and obviously that the game on Tuesday helped my argument, but that could flip today, particularly with them being in a different venue. On Tuesday, I also bet on Milwaukee, but if you remember, I didn't bet on the Milwaukee Bucks. I bet on the Milwaukee Brewers because they were red hot and they were facing the ice cold Cubs, and the Brewers did win that game. But I had Brewers minus 1.5, and the Brewers won 2-1. So I lost because they didn't cover the spread, which is very disappointing. But tonight, I'm going to go to that NBA game, but I'm going to go to a prop. You got the Greek Freak who is out, and you've got Trae Young who is out. That means that Atlanta is going to need some offense from somebody, but since Trae Young, who's putting up 30 points a game, is out, and in the paint where Giannis is such a great defender, it's going to be a little bit more wide open. Brook Lopez has been doing a great job down there. I look at John Collins, 15.5 points. I'm going to take the over on 15.5 points for John Collins today. He could put up 20, but that's my major wager. John Collins over 15.5 points.
It's a fun bet. It's a fun bet.
Fun bet, but it doesn't sound like you like it too much.
You know what? I was thinking that you're going to go for Herder, and you know what? I went back and I didn't bet this, but I would have if I was gambling a couple weeks ago. The first round, man, I went in back-to-back games. I went LeBron over after Anthony Davis was in street clothes, and LeBron said, "Put it on my back." I did, and I lost, and then I doubled down the next game.
Yeah,
I doubled down the next game. So I'm thinking, you know what? This is one of the greatest players, if not the greatest player of all time.
He wasn't healthy. What?
Just like when I'm bluffing it in poker, I'll fire that first barrel and somebody calls, you know what? Come back almost every time. Come back, fire that second barrel, and I see him fold it down. I thought that's what was happening there, but I got caught. All right. Everybody have a great weekend and a great 4th of July weekend. Check Chapman out on the radio and check him out on the Fifth Chapter coming up Tuesday. We'll talk with you then. Good night.
And listen to Dennis tomorrow on the radio.
Not tomorrow. I'm off.
Okay, don't listen to him.
He represents the mitten by way of Penn State. When Chapman gets to talking sports, the people can't wait. He represents the mitten. Be a true EMU, but cut Dennis in the fall and his veins bleeding blue. They got respect around the state when that light turns red. So don't sleep on these dudes. Just invite your friends to cut your nap short and tip your cap for and sit back for the Fifth Chapter. Huh. Brian Chapman. Dennis Fithian. When they open their mouths, they spit in the facts, bro. This ain't even optional, man. You just have to tune into YouTube to watch the broadcast or download it to your phone to peep the podcast. They mix laughter, they get after. It's all captured in the Fifth Chapter. Huh.